This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island, and I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. I'm your host, Jeff Freeman, and I got to bring my co-host up. There we go. And tonight we have co-hosting with us, Jack Campbell's back on the show. Jack Campbell, Tom Burns, and Colin Jamieson. Thank you guys. Yeah, not going to happen. I'm not going to be singing happy birthday, Kate, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing for you. So yeah. Nobody wants that. I can play guitar, but we're not going to be singing. So there we go. Maybe Tom or Colin or Jack. Maybe.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No,
okay.
There's a lot of things that'll happen. That's not one of them.
I'll drive viewers away.
Yeah, yeah. We don't want to make everybody run and screaming, and all that kind of stuff. So, hey, welcome everybody to the show tonight. So glad you guys joined us for this episode. We're going to be talking about season 9, episode 18, Playing The Dunfield tonight. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to kind of dig into that here in just a little bit. Oh, humbug. Oh, man. So glad to see you guys here. I'm going to throw out a few. I think Colin always says, too, that if you can, for those of you on Facebook, when you make a comment, if you haven't given StreamYard permission to use your name, then it comes over and just says Facebook user. So I always like to say, when you make a comment, if you would, because we like to acknowledge you, put your name on there first, like Michelle did. Facebook greetings from Aiken, is it Aiken, South Carolina? Michelle Gibson, thank you. Put your name on there like that, so we know who you are on the chat side over here in StreamYard, and we can acknowledge you for making a good comment. So and also. Colin always likes to say, tell us where you're from. A lot of you we know, but it's always good to throw out where you're from too when you say hi, so we get an idea, because we have people from all over the world watching the show, and we really appreciate that. Like our friend out in Germany, and I haven't seen her on here yet, but she'll pop in.
Marie.
I think
Anne-Marie's not here yet.
No.
Yeah.
Somebody call her, wake her up. Somebody give her a phone call, wake her up.
She said she sets her alarm so she can. So she can wake up and watch the show. Hi, Wanda. Wanda's here. Jack Lepper's here. Kat Fulton's here. Elizabeth is here. Darlene is here. Oh, my goodness. Look, there's Colin Jamieson is in the chat there. There he is. Oh, I was so wrong about the can count. Yeah. So was
man.
I.
Yeah. I guess I'm out of the lottery.
I'm not winning the prize. Hugh's here. Hi, Hugh. How you doing? Of course, Jan and Linda working hard out in the chat tonight. Thank you both so very much for all that you do. As I've said before, this group and this show would not exist if it were not for the hard work of Linda, Jan, Tom Burns, and now Henry helping out. Henry DeWitt is helping out with that too. So John Edwards is out there. Hey, John, how you doing? Let's see, Barbara Dunn. Who we got? Agnes Brooks. Hi, Agnes. How you doing? Brooks. That's my mom's maiden name. Cool. Karen, April.
Neil Baker from Bridgeport in the UK.
Wow. Neil Baker. All right. Yeah. Bridgewater in the UK. We are a few episodes behind, just about to slam the can. Okay. Well, we're going to spoil stuff for you tonight, Neil. I'm sorry.
See, Donna McCauley and one is there as well, too.
Donna McCauley's here. Oh, hey, Donna. How you doing? Yeah, that was a great show. Yeah, there she is saying hi, all. Y'all. And that, I tell you what, that was an awesome show. They were on Beyond Oak Island, and Donna and Gypsy were on with us, and that was fun. We had a lot of fun. If you haven't seen that show, it's out on YouTube. It's also embedded way down in our Facebook group as well. But you can watch that show, and that was a lot of fun. They were out working on the Sam Bass hideaway, or the gold coins that they had stolen, and where they ended up hiding them. And Donna, I think you were going to do some live stuff too. I've seen a little bit from your Facebook or your YouTube channel. But yeah, if you haven't checked, she has a YouTube channel, so you need to check that out. Is it just Donna McCauley? Can we just search Donna McCauley in YouTube to let everybody know how they can find that? Because she was out she's continuing her work looking for Sam Bass's treasure that he stole, and so that is ongoing. So you really, follow her Facebook page and her YouTube channel to see where she's at with all of that, because she's keeping everybody up to date. I have Freeman and Crowell in my family. Jan, that's Jan. Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting. That is pretty interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of freaky when you go out and you look on the internet and you search your name. Have you ever done that before? Have you ever gone out to the internet and just put your name in to see how many different people have your name? I have. It's pretty crazy to find out.
Yeah. Last name like Burns, it's going to be a lot of them out there.
Yeah. That's
Campbell's the same way. But
yeah, Campbell's the same way. I don't know about Jamieson.
There's a few of us out there.
Yeah. So Kate's here, Jan's here, Paula Steen. Hi, Paula. How you doing?
Jeff is here from Anchor Tours.
Yes, Jeff from Anchor Tours. Going to be a surprise for next week. So and then there's Jeff. Hello, friends. Can number 3. Could it be? Yes. Yes, it could be. I have, and I have to admit, I had been giving high hopes for can number 2. And of course I missed. We had that little poll or voting that we put out a while back to say how many cans do you think they were going to put down. Colin, of course, was 1. I said 2, so I blew it.
I'm done.
I said 2.
So now they're working on 3. They could actually have been 4. I don't know. What do you think?
There could be 4 or more at this stage of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know about more. Marty said 4. I know at the end of in the war room right there.
Yeah,
4 was supposedly their maximum budget. Yeah.
Yep. Supposedly, yes. The Jersey Lady. Hi, Jersey Lady.
Hello, Henry.
Mary. Sand Dollar Ray is here also. Oak Island Research. Wow. Okay. Oak Island Research. Oh, that's an interesting name. Well, welcome. Glad you're here. Let's see who else we got over here on this side. Mary, of course. There's Jan. Wally. Wally's here with us. Hi, Wally from Tampa. All right. Probably good weather down there, I would imagine, right? Hello from Ohio. Who was that? That one went by, and I don't have a name, so I don't know who you are. That one went by. Gail. Hi, Gail. Gail is actually helping me out a little bit. She's sent me some information that I really appreciate. Thank you very much, Gail, for that.
I see Linda put up a note there that Oak Island Research is actually in France.
Wow.
In France. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda, for that. Letting us know. Roberta from Alberta, Canada. D. Jones. Jim Barlow from Tennessee. Wow, a lot of people showing up here. Thank you guys for coming here tonight. So, feel free to throw in your comments and all of that into the chat. We'll do our very best, and that's why also where I like to have special co-hosts here with me tonight, so they can help me with the chat. So I really don't like to miss it. I know you guys come up with some good questions and some very good comments. I hate missing them, but I get so involved in the show, and it's hard to watch all of it and keep track of everything at the same time. But I do my best. I really do, because you guys have great input, and that's why we love doing the show, so that we can get that input from everybody, because we like to interact. That's what it's all about. Hey, Kevin from Lawton, Oklahoma. Hey, Kevin, how you doing? All right. So, can we'll finish up talking about can number 2, which was EC1. Early Christmas one, which, of course, it didn't turn out to be much of an early Christmas.
The stocking was empty.
Got a Scrooge.
I was going to say lots of rocks and coal and that.
Yep, got a Scrooge.
Yeah,
that stocking.
This is a cool. I love this one. You guys know I love these aerial shots of Oak Island, and this one is the one they used last night at the beginning of the show. Isn't that awesome? That's an awesome picture right there, with the cloud or fog layer lifting, or I don't know if it's. I think it's just a fog layer lifting. That is just an awesome picture, and as Colin has told us on the show here many times about how many islands there are. And of course, we're looking out to sea from Mahone Bay here. Is that about right?
Yeah, it'd be the Oak Island resort and stuff would kind of be behind you. You're looking right straight out. You can see Big Tan Cook Island on the horizon.
Yep.
Okay. Frog Island closest to Oak Island.
Right. This one here. Yeah.
And I think that's either Apple or Squid Island. I can't remember which name. The little small one, right in the sun, in the beam of sunlight coming down.
This one right here. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many you see way in the background.
Yeah, I know. It truly is. Yeah, there's some way over here. There's it's really cool. There's one that looks like way back there, and then this big one, of course, on the horizon.
That's Big Tan Cook and Little Tan Cook. Lots of people actually live out there year round.
Really?
Yep.
Way out there. Wow.
Yep. It's a fishing community, and there's some artists and just some people that just live. There's a ferry that goes from the village of Chester out there on a regular basis. Yep. If you're visiting in the area, you can take the ferry out and you can actually walk around the island and all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, that is really neat. Wow. Yeah. So, does that get, you take your boat out here all the time. Mm-hmm. Does that get pretty rough going out that far, or is it still pretty calm waters?
No, it depends. Depends on the day. It can get a little crazy. Yeah. This would be classic fall morning is what that looks like, that picture.
Yep. That is really neat. See, that's why, it's so nice to have you and Tom on, because we kind of get that local, of course, Tom and being in New Brunswick, but close enough, but you get that local perspective from what's happening out there. And you've got property 5 minutes away. And what did you say about the ice? You were just telling us about the ice.
Yeah, I mean, we had a pretty good rain there last weekend, kind of took the ice out of the cove that I live in anyway. And so we're hoping in a couple of weeks, probably going to launch, not the big boat, but we'll launch the small boat do a little recon mission. So
all right,
we'll make sure we stick some pictures up on the Facebook page to see what's going on early spring this year. Last year was pretty late starting. This year, the boys have been in town. So
I think they'll be there next month.
Yeah. Well, for sure. Well, we know there was picture already of Rick in town. So he's already been sighted around town. So we know he was there. Yeah. So we know that's happening. So, he's in the area. So yeah, Darlene, you the man, Colin. Exactly. And I tell you what, let me get that picture out of the way so we're not covering up Colin there. But thank you so much, Colin, for grabbing those pictures for us and sharing them with our group. Keep your fingers crossed. Weather and water, holds true, and Colin, we'll be getting some pictures in a couple of weeks.
Well, so listen, this summer we promised we're going to do an actual live podcast, actually anchored off of Oak Island. I think, Tom, you're going to be there.
Yep.
Jeff, you're definitely coming.
Yep.
And, we'll do one actually with Oak Island in the background.
Yep. There we go. So you guys, that's going to be a treat, is it not? I mean, as long as I can reach cell phone signal, we're going to go live. It might be on a little laptop. I mean, it's not going to be with the equipment that I got in this room up here. But yeah, we're going to go live with a laptop, but we're going to do a live stream from right there in Mahone Bay with the island behind us. So yeah, courtesy of Colin Jamieson. So that's going to be great. So
I promise there'll be no beer drinking or barbecues on the boat.
Oh, wait, hold on now, just a minute now.
Yeah, really.
Slow now. So much changing the rules.
Oh, yep. Yeah. Say, wait a minute. I thought you said, yeah.
I'll meet you back on the shore. I'll meet you back on the shore.
I'll buy the meat if you'll provide the means to cook it and to wash it down.
Oh, will be happening.
All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's see. I know I missed a couple things here. Let's see. Oh yeah. Jim Barlow says, I enjoy the updates from Colin. Yeah, we sure do. Seth Bound's here. Hey, Seth Bound, how you doing? What does it say? My wife is convinced that Colin sits in a lawn chair all day staring at Oak Island with binoculars.
Apparently I don't, because I guessed one can was going in the ground and I was like, I was way wrong. The boys are busy while I'm at work all week, so.
Yep. Yeah, Kate, Rick is, or at least he was in the area. Yeah, he was sighted in the area. He was actually at one of the stores up there, or convenience store or something, and they took a picture, and the lady put it up on her on Facebook page. So he's been sighted. He was up there. Don't know if he's still there, Why wouldn't he be? But you never know. He's got business to take care of, so he does move around, especially this time of year before the cameras and everything get out there. But and tell us, you guys gave a little update before we got started tonight about the rules about crossing the border. What's the latest update now?
Well, Tom, you're living the land of the free right now in New Brunswick.
Yeah, right now in New Brunswick, the restrictions have all been dropped.
Yeah, here in Nova Scotia on the 21st, so next Monday, all I say major restrictions will be lifted. There'll still be some things for going into full care homes and some hospital stuff, but in general terms, it's wide open. I read this morning they were changing some on the federal government for people flying into the country. So Jeff, yourself, and other Americans and people from outside the country, I think they've dropping a bunch of the testing requirements ahead of time. So,
and that's going to be for land crossings and air crossings as well.
Yeah. So we're looking forward. I think it's going to be a very busy tourist year this year.
Yeah.
And hopefully they're going to get the Oak Island tours will be up and running this year.
Yes. We're supposed to find out May 1st, I think, right?
Yeah.
1st, yeah. So hopefully we'll find out if the Oak Island tours are going to happen. Now the Friends of Oak Island are not. They've already canceled out, and that was we found out that back in January. I think January.
Quite some time ago, yeah.
Yeah, quite a while ago that they canceled out for the season. And then Oak Island tours, if they're going to do that one, we'll find out in May. Don't see any reason why they wouldn't, unless they have found something and they're keeping people off the island. They might use, who knows? We don't know. It was just kind of strange but anyway, we'll find out. And we know they have that, they have that like guard shack now set up right there on the Oak Island side of the causeway. And in that guard shack, they were making sure that everybody had, they scanned everybody, make sure we had your vaccinations or whatever to come over onto the island. Don't know if that's going to remain the way it is or not, or the way it was. We'll find out. So how that goes here in the future. Friends of Oak Island tour does big tours with 140 to 150 people. Oak Island tours does the smaller tours, about 40 people. So, yeah. So hopefully, we'll see something.
And the guys got the Salty Dog tours. So they got the kind of pontoon boats go out of Oak Island Marina, and I think they have at least. As they started with one boat, I know there's at least two
five.
now.
Five, I want to believe they have now.
I don't know.
I think they've expanded their operations. I'm not 100% sure how many they got in the go now, but we got a fair bit.
Yep. Neil Baker brought up this question here. When they revealed the boat-shaped thing in the swamp, there were many things showed on the right-hand side on the ground above the new stone path. They said about a spiral walkway going down into the island, among other things. I don't remember that. A spiral walkway.
They showed there was a walkway going veer up to the Pine Carn Hill and or kiln, and then going up kind of on the upper side of the of the money pit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the walkway I know of, yeah.
Yeah, there was supposedly it returned at that point. Part of it went toward the eye of the swamp. Hence, you had that great big platform out there as well. But when they found that area where they thought there might have been an encampment of some sort and maybe a cook fire area or some sort of because there was burn, they found activity that there was things that had burned there, and all that pottery. But they found that the road also turned that right there and went up towards Pine Tar Kiln and up toward that way, maybe towards the Money Pit area. And then the one other road went towards, at least in the direction of the eye of the swamp. So that's what it looked like at that point.
Because they've been up there about 2 episodes ago with the handheld GPR.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out if there was, in fact, a road or a pathway going up through there.
I think there's general consensus is that the stone pathway continued out, and that's where there was they had a fairly large boat, called wharf/slip, attached to that at some point in time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And we spoke with Terry DeVoe. He was on the show Saturday. And if you haven't seen that one, you should really go check it out. Terry was phenomenal. He came and shared so much information with us about the the Portuguese and the Portuguese connection to the area, and what he believes maybe also to Oak Island. And he believes that that road and everything could very well have been built by the Portuguese using Roman road building techniques over there. And we know that the road was built a long time ago. So, but that show was really good. He was on here with us on Saturday, and that show's out on our YouTube channel, on this YouTube channel, JFree906, if you want to check that one out. It was a very informative and fun show that we had with Terry DeVoe. Like I said, he's been on the island a few times and gave his assessment of the road. So I think the swamp, and Jack and I were just talking about this earlier before the show started, the swamp has yet to yield all of its secrets. But I think that the permitting was kind of getting in their way, wasn't it, Jack?
Yeah, the permit was getting. My thought was, why would there only be one way in and out to get treasure? Why you have to have another way to get out in case of a cave in, or anything else? So,
back door, so to speak. Yeah,
especially the Templars, who were known for having multiple ways to get out usually.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
And not just that too. They're going to need ventilation shafts too, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that was the one thing they were talking about, speculating about. There's Anne Marie. Hey, Anne Marie. We were wondering where you were.
Must have slept through her alarm.
Yeah. Talking about the money pit shaft going straight up there from the treasure area. That could have been used as a chimney, because they were talking about building a fire at the bottom of that, and then the smoke going up into the money pit shaft and out, and then drawing fresh air in from the tunnels on either side, or another tunnel somewhere to draw in that fresh air. So that was on one way to actually keep fresh air into a tunnel area, is by building a fire and using and so was the money pit shaft actually a chimney at some point? Very well could have been. So we don't know. But like Jack said, I think it's very plausible to say that they had another means by which to get in here. And if you remember, I'm Aaron Helton talked about, didn't she? She was talking about a tunnel heading that way, was she not?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it was heading, kind of leaving the money pit. Her speculation was it was leaving the money pit area, heading toward the eye of the swamp. That's a long way, but still, possibility. So anyway, they hopefully this year, yes, we want them to keep going in the money pit for sure, but I still want them to look in the swamp. I want answers from the swamp and the eye of the swamp. I think it's a plug.
Fingers crossed. I mean, last year, you remember in the pictures they showed it in the season. You could see the material they used for a cofferdam, because that was the original intent, was to cofferdam out
the block off the eye of the swamp and the ship at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, a part of the swamp, but again, things with COVID, and they were very late starting. Like, it wasn't until later in the summer before they really got things going. So it'll be very curious to see if this year, because this year clearly they're starting early, because again, the Laguna have Rick's been here. There is stuff on the go. There's lots of rumors about Billy doing work out on the island already. Hence, I think in a couple of weeks we'll go out and recon and see if they actually are out there doing some stuff.
Can't wait.
But
with their permit last year, they could not really reach the ship last year, couldn't they? Even with that crane.
Yeah.
No.
I think the ship anomaly is a bit of a questionable. I certainly think that there are some marine and boat things in there. To have this giant. I mean, how long was it? It was like
200 feet, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, the blue nose, and I think we showed that in an episode there a while ago. I remember we took some pictures of the blue nose that was out there. That's not 200 feet. I mean, that a 200 foot is massive.
Yep. Yeah. Linda was just reminding too that Billy does work on the island year around. He does a lot of work for erosion control and doing some digging to shore up some areas around the island. So you've seen all the rock, and that's something that Colin, that you pointed out, all that rock that's been put in around the beach area.
And we've had a couple of storms, but this winter here has been pretty light. We haven't had any really super mega storms, and we haven't had a lot of ice in the different coves. So it should be I think it should be pretty. The guy should be in pretty good shape in the island this year.
Yeah.
How does that do for your camera? You're blocked off by that more?
Pardon me?
Are you blocked off by what they put up there for camera
Rocks
sake when you go take pictures?
No.
No.
You're able to see over. And now Karen, public cover would be from her kayak, because she goes out and she braves it out in her kayak, of course, on nice days. But when Karen goes out, she goes out with her kayak and takes pictures with her cell phone. And yeah, she can
takes
get
them.
blocked by some of the rocks. Yeah.
Yeah, she takes some beautiful pictures.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
really does. Yeah, and we thank her a lot for that too. That's she really goes above and beyond to help us out with that. So we
I just
The
feel
boat
sorry
I've got
for
is
her.
it's a hard top on it, so I can stand. So you're probably about, I don't know, 10, 12 feet above the water when you can stand
Nice.
on top of it. So you get a pretty good.
Okay.
If
You
you're in
go
close
over
on a high tide, you can see in. But you got to remember the money pit area is up high. Smith's Cove and stuff is up high, and it's pretty accessible.
Yep. Nice. A couple more people have jumped on here. There's Paula Mason. Hi, Paula. How you doing? Let's see. Houston, Texas. Dave is here, and Amy is here. Amy, I was just talking about you earlier. Yeah, you were talking about they must have a way to get air in there to get fresh air. You're absolutely right. They must, or else the people would eventually suffocate down there. So, yeah, Paul, I agree. The swamp has answers, and I want some of those answers. I want to know what's in there. Is there really a big old ship? I don't know. I want to believe that there is, but I still think the swamp yields answers to help solve this mystery of who, what, why, when, and where. I really do.
Yeah. There's definitely a lot of activity going on in the swamp. There's no question about it. There's lots of stuff going on.
Yeah. Just like Roberta said, I think they should spend more time in the swamp this year if they are allowed. Yes, very key point right there. The money pit is so elusive, and who knows what the swamp will yield about the money pit. Very good point.
Do you think that ship-shaped anomaly in the swamp could be another rock structure?
Wow.
Or is it too deep?
I think so. I'm with you on that opinion, Tom. I think
more of a what's the word I'm looking for? Natural anomaly of some sort.
Natural, or maybe, man. I mean, if they went to all the trouble to build one great big wharf down there, why wouldn't they have a second wharf or dock?
That's very true.
Yeah.
Wow, good point.
It could be natural.
It's pretty far in there, because when you get into that cove, it does shallow up now again. 200, 300, 400 years ago, I'm sure the topography would be different. And remember, I think Karen was on when Tom was saying about back in the day, they talked about on low tide you could walk from the mainland to the island.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
So things are much different now than they were back then.
Right.
And how high the water line would have actually been lower. It would have been tricky. It's a tricky spot for getting close to the island, at least with a large ship, because one of those big old ships could probably look like, how much water would the Blue Nose, as an example, how much water would that draw? It's probably, I'm guessing, I don't know, 10, 15 feet of water.
Yep, that'd be my guess.
Yeah, I don't think you'd ever get a big ship in there.
I don't think so.
Smaller dories, or maybe barges or something, maybe. But
that's my point. Now, doing ship repairs in there, that cove is pretty slick, because it is a bit of a gradual. So you could get something in there. The tide goes down, the pine tar kill, and the guys are out doing repairs. Because again, everyone that would have came across the Atlantic or coming up from the Caribbean and going back, they would be doing under a constant state of repairs. It's not like a modern ship that's got made of, steel or fiberglass, and you can, it's not going to leak. Those old wooden ships, they would have, every couple of ports, you would have had to been doing repairs and patching and
sealing.
Sealing it up.
And not just that, but I think it was Terry was saying on Saturday that you just didn't stock up. Say if you were coming from south of Florida, you just didn't fill up in Florida and try and drive home. You'd have a final stop over destination point to finish with your stock up, get your fresh water, do your repairs, and then try and cross.
Yep, exactly.
Because I know guys like friends that will sail up from like Bermuda to here, It depending on the weather and that's today's day and age with a modern boat, and you're picking the right time and the weather and wind and all that stuff. A lot of them are like a 10 to 14 day trip. It can be. So I mean, you got to take a lot of supplies with you to
absolutely,
feed a bunch of people, and fresh water, and all that kind of stuff, right?
Cabbages for your you got to get your kraut.
Got to get your fresh cabbage.
Get your fresh cabbage here.
And
You had this big sign out.
And it would take anywhere from 5 to 8 weeks to make a sail crossing.
That's a long time. You think about it. That's a long time. Yeah. If you could go straight across, but they kind of went up and around, didn't they? At least, up towards Iceland and kind of around that way. Did they not? Or did they shoot straight across from there to the Azores? I think they might have.
No, the jet stream or Gulf Stream will go up off of, quite close, probably about, I'm going to guesstimate about 30 kilometers off of Halifax and go up off the coast and then out off of Newfoundland and wrap up and around. I mean, it'd be, again, you don't have the weather forecasts and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. To know when there's a hurricane or a really bad storm coming or something like that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they didn't have the modern. Yeah, so they had to chance it, and that's why when we had Robert Westrick on the show, when we were talking, he was on Beyond Oak Island talking about the 1715 fleet. They headed out. They were heading back to Spain with all those ships that all the plundered stuff they got from the Aztecs. They didn't make it even as far past the Florida coastline, and they got hit by a hurricane and lost 11 of 12 ships. So, yeah, you just don't know what's out there. I was looking at some of the stuff here. Let's see. Wally asked, do you think the team would get permission to bring the archaeologists back to the island next season? Don't know. It really all depends on what they can work out concerning the Mi'kmaq artifacts that were found. That's really what it comes down to. And we don't know, I'm sure there's ongoing negotiations and stuff, talking to them about that, trying to work something out. I'm making an assumption there, of course, but we'll see. We'll see what they come up with, because they don't want to lose more of the island that they cannot search. And that's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. Because every time they find something, now that area they can't look, and then that area, and they've lost already quite a bit. So, and then there's somebody commented about your skills there. Where did you get your spying skills?
They're not spying. They're not spying. It's called a cell phone, and
yeah.
Purely observation.
That's right.
Yep. Does well.
And hence why I'm normally all the pictures are, I say is always, it's typically weekends. I try not to go when they're during the weekdays when they normally film Monday to Friday. I normally try to stay away from, if you're a giant, you'd be 12 feet in the air. I am a pretty tall guy. Jack and I are like brothers from another mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Like 6'8" or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm only short. You could perch me on top of your boat and they'd never see me.
Yeah. Let's see. I think the ship shape anomaly is just back sand, and some of the ship shape could have been doctored for the show. Yeah. I mean, they went out there and did all the seismic testing out there, and that's where they gathered that information. So I don't know. We'll find out. Hopefully we'll find out what it is. But that's an interesting point that you brought up. If it were some sort of a like a stone road or something that they had built up there for some reason to make a platform, to make a and it does. You think about that, Jack. You and I kept looking at that shape, and that's a long 200 feet there. That is a bigger than, and you're not going to get a ship in there that size. Not easy. I don't know. And again, Perry DeVoe made a comment about that, how he doesn't believe it was ever two islands because of the water levels getting lower and lower and lower. You're going to have one big island. And at some point going back, it's going to be nothing more than a peninsula, because like you were talking about earlier, Colin, about being able to walk over from the mainland. So at some point in the past, it was like a peninsula sticking out.
Yeah. And that setup on Oak Island is not in the area is not super unique just to Oak Island. There are several islands that have swamps within them. And there's another one more on the Mahone Bay off the town of Mahone Bay over by Bachman's Island, and other ones that are, they've talked about in the show an island that almost mirrors a reverse mirror image of Oak Island's setup.
Yeah. Yeah, they did talk about there's one down south that is very similar in shape and has a swamp in the middle of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of it, but
yeah. I know it's across from Backman. Backman's is a pretty popular, we'll say camping, maybe a little party spot for boaters down here, but I know the island.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is unlikely that anybody's doctoring the information. I don't think. I know that, we know that our friends at Prometheus will, to hype things up, they will certainly take segments of the show and kind of misplace them so that they seem, like, we saw, and I'm going to talk about it when we get to the end here, but like the thing they found in the spoils of this new shaft that Gary picks up and woo, and so, what's that? And they're talking gold. Now, did they take and put all these pieces together to make us think they found gold? Probably. And we know that they do that to make sure you come back.
The doorknob or whatever it was earlier in the year.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, kind of leading us on with the doorknob, the brass doorknob. But, it's
actually changing or altering any of those tests or results wouldn't serve any useful purpose anyway. Plus, the company that did it's got a reputation on the line, so it wouldn't make sense to do it.
They get a 10 out of 10 for catfishing. I've been coming back for years and I can't help myself. So, can't stop,
Yep. So, so man, there's so much chat. I keep stopping to pull some, and then there's so much more going by. It's incredible. I'm scrolling to get back to the bottom here. Sorry, folks. I know I've missed a lot of stuff here. My goodness. So yeah, I let's move on, and I'll see if I can't. Either buried beneath or the swamp. Yeah, it's Woken Ones come up with some stuff here too, and
I want to get to some of those pictures you had, Jeff. You had some pretty cool ones, some snapshots you took from the show.
Yeah.
They kind of pass quickly in the show. You don't really get to see them very well, and it's
right. That's exactly why I like to do that. And let's do that. We'll jump into a few of them here. And again, folks, I apologize. There's so many good comments going by, but so anyway, here's the money pit, and that was the early morning shot of the money pit as they were finishing up. This is the finishing up of EC1, the early Christmas one. And then, of course, I had to show this picture, of course, where it's not a picture, it's a rendition of a artist rendition of them reaching down and grabbing the chamber and bringing it up, or the whatever you want to call it, the 7-foot high chapel box or chapel vault, and pulling it up in the hammer grab, which would be nice, wouldn't it, if they could do that? But
I was going to overlay the Ark of the Covenant in that picture just for John Edwards to put that in there to see them pick that up. But
yeah. So anyway, they did find a little tiny bit of wood at the very end of EC1. They did pull up this little scrap right here, and as you can see, not very much wood. It looks like they almost like scraped the edge of a beam or something. So they did pull up a little bit there. Then we jump over to before we go there, I wanted to kind of mention a couple things. Let's see, one of the comments that was made, as they were wrapping it up, and I had to kind of laugh at this. But Rick and Marty were going back and forth about stopping EC1 and moving on to another one, right? And one of them said, I think it started with Marty, and then Rick kind of commented on it. He said, so if Gary finds 10 coins, then we'll keep going. If he doesn't, then we're going to move on. So 10, I'm thinking you find 1 coin and you're going to keep going.
You're going to keep
Exactly, yeah.
I mean, we've been waiting for them to pull up 1 coin, any kind of coin, out of the spoils of any of these caissons, and it's keep going at that point. I think, that's my opinion anyway. But they did make it down to about 152. I said the can was 152 and a half. And they were the hammer grab was at about 151, and they were struggling. They were getting some very high pressures, and Marty mentions the anhydrite was very hard to drill through because it was gummy and everything, and it would gum up the teeth on it. You've seen him pick up a couple pieces of it and bring it out and walk over and show everybody. So And we're going to kind of talk about this as later on as we go through the show here tonight. But I'll leave that question out there. Are they going deep enough? So anyway.
Like someone just made a comment and said that, but the wash plant was by 10X. I wonder if they're pulling water from 10X. Remember, that's when they stopped digging the swamp to allow water to backfill in, because they're actually pumping water out of the swamp to feed the wash plant and other operations, and that as they're checking.
Yeah, the wash plant is down by Smith's Cove. The wash table is up by 10X, and they got the the fire hose, up there.
Fire hose.
Yeah. So hey, Deborah just said hi. I want to say hi back. Hi, Deborah. How you doing? So anyway, they jump over to the war room, and there's the guys inside, and Lumberjack Jack back there. I mean, he's looking more and more like a lumberjack all the time, is he not? Lumberjack Jack. So, and then and lo and behold, there's Terry Matheson. We already wonder, where's Terry? Terry all of a sudden disappeared. He was always at the table, out at the money pit. And then as soon as they started putting in the caissons, Terry's gone. It's like, what happened to Terry?
It was good to see Dan Henskee too, because we had not seen him in a while either.
Yeah. Great to see Dan back. Absolutely fantastic to see Dan out there and active and doing stuff. 82 years old, that man. It's still going. So there's Terry, and I got him sleeping on the job. Happened to catch him nodding off. So that's, he's not at the money pit, so he's nodding off. Just teasing. And so what they're doing here now, they made a decision that the F4 was one of the places that they got the highest concentrations of silver and gold in the water content, in the water samples that Dr. Spooner and Matt brought up in the end of season 8. And so F4 is exactly where they are going to punch this new hole. They got it. They went to the war room. They made a decision, and F4 is pretty much dead center, not quite, but pretty much dead center of what they believe the Dunfield dig area is, which is this large circle right here. So as we go along here, is it possible that that Robert Dunfield had it right? Now, back then, there was a better idea of where the money pit was, correct? I think that they had a better idea of where it was back then. In
relation to the chapel shaft and the hidden shaft, they had a pretty good idea.
Right. One of the things I wanted to bring up here, too, and I grabbed this picture because now we've been told, we were led to believe for quite a while here that the Dunfield dig area, and as you see on this grid right here, they're saying it was 100 feet in diameter and is about 140 feet deep at its center of the funnel at the bottom. Now think of it like a funnel. And something that Doug Crowell had brought up, and he gave us permission to say and use in the show and talk about in our group, was that is not completely accurate about the size of the Dunfield dig area. And I'm going to bring that up real quick and read to what he had said, as long as I can find it now. So what he was talking about was, and he kind of briefly mentioned it during the show. Okay. Now I passed it. Where did I go? Okay. I got to find it here. Sorry, folks. There we go. There it is. Okay. So one of the things that he said is lots of, and I'm going to read it right from his text or right from his message, lots of thoughts about how big the Dunfield dig was over the years, but our geotechnical boreholes show it to be smaller in diameter than some estimates. The Dunfield dig did not much go beyond C1 to the north. And I'll bring up that picture. C1 to the north. And around C1, the depth, and around C1, the depth of his terraced dig was about 18 feet deep before it centered in a narrow hole going down to about 138 feet in depth.
Yeah.
Okay. So that changes everything, because we were talking about this big funnel going down, and then when they were doing these other boreholes and whatnot, they were actually going down quite a ways before they hit virgin ground. but knowing that the actual wide opening, and I'm going to go back to this picture, the wide opening at the top was not going down that deep. Yeah, it was more like a funnel than a cone.
How
But
deep did you say that was again, Jeff? You say it was 138 feet?
138 is what their estimate from Doug said.
And remember a few seasons ago now, when they had dug up the bones, that was like 165 feet. Am I right in saying that? Does anyone?
Yes.
I would say you're pretty close.
Yeah. So, I mean, the cool part is there was definitely activity much deeper than what Dunfield had done.
Yep, absolutely.
And I think by the end of Dunfield's dig, by the way they were talking, by the time he got down to 130 or 140 feet, he was basically just scooping out what was falling in on top of it. Anyway.
Exactly.
Now, I do think in a larger area, he would have kind of frigged up the, probably 10 or 20 feet of material, just moving around and doing stuff. So from the previous digs, when they said, it's 140 feet, well, what's 140 feet from where, if that makes sense? So 140 could have been 150, it could have been 130 from Dunfield's kind of semi-disaster he was having on the go. But
that's a very good point.
And as you can see, the records back there, we really don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. He kept pretty good records, but I mean, talking about it being 100 feet in diameter, I mean, you see on this picture here, that's not 100 feet across. Now, is this toward the end or is this toward the beginning? We don't know for a fact, but that's pretty much the opening of the hole that he started, and it's not 100 feet across.
Yeah, and I don't think it was circular either.
No, it was more oval shaped.
Do you remember when they took the bones, that 165-foot hole? Does anyone remember where? Because Jeff, if you could ping back to your map, does anyone remember where?
I think it was H8.
So it was way over. It's outside of the field then.
Yeah, H8's right here. I think the bones. Does anybody remember?
I don't recall.
Throw up a comment real quick if you remember exactly what hole it was they found the bone. I think
because I mean that was a very, I don't know why I always fixate on that, because no matter who dug it, there were people there at that depth, and it was very old. Like it was like pre-searcher or like pre.
Well before pre-searcher. It was back in the 1500s, I think. The bones.
Yeah, that someone dug a hole 165 feet in the ground.
Exactly.
And was enough to, at the very least, they got a body or remains or something, or part of something that deep.
Of two different people. Yeah, of two different people.
A man and a woman, supposedly.
And we'll say
Templar
area, it was from the Middle East.
Yes.
Descent. And another
European.
one was of European descent.
Yep.
So clearly there was a lot of holes dug there at depth in different areas.
Yep.
Which does make you wonder why they're hitting 150.
To what you were saying, Jack, earlier about, other access points. I mean, there's definitely been multiple very, very old tunnels. Now, what were they? Were they treasure tunnels? It's just I've got lots of theories, but one of them is, mining operation. Could that have been why you had multiple tunnels at that depth for people? I don't know, but it was just curious to see how that lines up to where they had found and now where they're digging, because the last two cans they had stopped at. How deep was that, Tom? Was it about
150? It's about where they're ending up, yeah.
Yeah, because I know when we were kind of talking earlier, saying, well, when they were doing the sonic drill rig and the pilots, they seem to be going deeper than what the caissons are going. And why is that? I'm not an engineer. I'm not a geologist. I don't know if it's easier to put the small hole in the ground versus the big one takes too much pressure at that depth or that material. But
yeah, I know that's an interesting thing that when they were doing the drill program, they were definitely going deeper. And with the caisson, they hit 150 feet or so, and they're done.
Yeah. Well, Sethbound put in, what would they be mining? There is, very close by, there's Gold River. I mean, there was quite a bit of gold taken out of the area. there were history records of mariners, because one of the guys had came and took materials back to Europe and then was accused. He kind of made a joke of him because it was a combination of pyrite and some other material that he had gone back with on this expedition, right? So they not saying it was definitely gold, but it was there is gold in the area, or there was at one time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Want to finish up with what Doug was saying too, and he was answering John Frick on this, and he said our drilling results would agree, John. His pit was likely 60 to 80 feet at most in diameter. At most. The north side of the dig would have been about 18 feet deep, with the west side about 30 feet deep, but it quickly narrowed into a shaft-size hole. Dunfield himself wrote that he took out 1.5 shafts within his dig. So which ones were they? Was that the original money pit shaft, part of it, and then half of another one? So that's why they're, I think I got more, let's say I got higher hopes for this one than I did for the first one. I had high hopes for number 2, but I think they're, Dunfield might have been in the right spot.
Dunfield stopped because of money, was it not?
And the fact that it was caving in, but yeah, money.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because someone else had put in there, I think Craig Campbell, why did they stop at 150 feet? Which is a great question, but they seem to talk about running in the bedrock and not be able to go past that point.
Right.
And then I think there's, again, I'm not a geologist, but I'm assuming there's different levels. Like the bedrock isn't a perfectly flat thing. It's probably.
Right.
No. There's about, from the research that I've done, there's about a 10 to 15 foot variance from one side of the money pit to the other in the level of the bedrock.
Yeah. But
there's no peaks or valleys. It's relatively flat, in geographic terms, but it's not, if you get to 150 feet anywhere, you're probably going to hit some sort of limestone.
Yeah, but it does seem really weird that why there's a 165 foot hole that they're pulling stuff out of, but then they're stopping at 140 feet because they can't go any further, literally like 20 feet away. Like it's very, very random on the how and why. And
various reports show that limestone to be about 10 feet thick.
Yeah, and you brought it up, Tom, saying, did they dig below that? Like, I mean, they kind of go through that material and they dug below it, and are the guys just not digging deep enough?
I know.
You would think with the equipment, the technology, and the experts on hand, that would not be the case.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not a couple of guys in the backyard digging with a shovel and saying, "Well, I think that's as far as we're going to go."
Yeah.
Because the core drilling seemed to go a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
What was that, Tom?
The 1967 drill program said they got to a depth of 160 feet with variances of up to 10 feet. So, and I mean, 67, I think they drilled like 49 holes or something like that. The bedrock contains seams of limestone in the upper layers. 40 feet below bedrock, they hit a void. This void was covered by 2 layers of wood separated by blue clay.
40 feet below bedrock.
40 feet below bedrock.
Below the bedrock. So that's you're reaching 200 feet at that point almost.
They went, the 1967 program went to a depth of 200 feet.
See? So the can's not going down far enough.
The 1909 program went to a depth of 171 feet.
But who would have the technology to dig that kind of hole on an island below bedrock? Like,
only if you came in from underneath it from someplace like the swamp, like Jack says.
Yep.
Came in from the bottom, not the top.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But I'm not there. I'm not there. I don't know.
Darlene says 40 feet below the bedrock.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. 40 feet below the bedrock.
Yeah. See?
The infamous backdoor possibility.
Aliens. There you go. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And there's a good question right there from Craig. Isn't 10X much deeper, like 230 feet? Yes.
10X is 235 feet.
Right. And granted, it is a little higher, but it's what is that, about maybe 15 feet higher than what the money pit is, to where you would know better being over there, Colin, is Is the level of the money pit, I mean, the 10X higher ground than where the money pit is? By maybe 10, 15 feet?
No, I mean, you're above. I mean, you
But I
see
mean,
the pictures. You're. I don't know how many feet above sea level you are, but it's.
But not the difference between 150 and 230. I mean,
No.
but then that would put you below that layer of bedrock that they found in '67, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's.
You're
melting my brain. It's
yeah. Well, speaking of those bones, I just wanted to show this real quick too. But there's the picture of the bones that they found, the 2 pieces of bone that were found in the money pit, and it was H8. So that's where it was. That's where it was. So yeah, for sure. There was that, and one of them was European, one of them was Middle Eastern, and I believe, like Amy said, that one was a woman and one was a man. So, yeah, and Kat says, yeah, my brain hurts again. Yeah.
But I'm surprised like that doesn't get talked about more. I mean, that's a really incredible thing. So you can get it because people say, well, it's a natural formation, it's this, it's that. No, this proves that people were physically there at that depth.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
And the TV show, it kind of does it justice, but then it doesn't do it justice. I mean, when you go out there and you see it in person, and this island, and you think, okay, you're going to dig. Go out in your yard and measure 180 feet, and then think about how far down that would be. It's
180
incredible.
feet would be what, a 15 or 16 story building, probably.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And to find bones down there, I mean, that is a major discovery.
And to do it with the equipment that they had at that time.
Yes, doing it with coming out with wooden ships and easels, and I don't know. It is quite crazy. Yeah. And I guess that's the allure of why, I know for me personally, that's why I watch the show so emphatically, because you're just looking for some answers, because there's, no matter what, whether they pull gold out of it or whatever, some awfully incredible things happen on the island.
Yeah. Who pours concrete? Who pours concrete 200 feet underground?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. And somebody pointed out, looking at this log back here. Remember the log that Rick, the piece of log that had the knots and stuff still on the limb knots on it and stuff, and he laid it up there. I mean, could it have been a piece of this? I don't think it was found in the Dunfield area. I think it was found over in it was EC1, or no, was that? It might have been the first one, TF1, that he found that piece of log that had the knots on it. But somebody saw this in the picture here, yeah, and said, "Oh, is that the log?" Well, I suppose it could have been, but unlikely. But anyway, so that's the thing, is that we look at the Dunfield area as being 100 feet by 140. It wasn't 100 feet. It wasn't that big around. And the portion going from, say, 20 feet or so down to that 138 was a very small hammer grab size hole that went straight down. He very well may have been on top of it and just couldn't get down far enough. It's very likely, and that's what they're banking on right now for the next show, in this Caisson. So they're banking on the fact that he didn't get down far enough.
Jeff, I'm wondering how much work they had to do for a pad for that thing, because it's been chewed up so bad before they put everything in there to start drilling that can.
Yeah.
And just, I had to jump on this comment. I thought it's an interesting one. John Edwards says about, do we think the bones were associated with saints or other historical figures? Because saying that something was placed at depth. Very, very, that's a good one. I don't think we haven't talked about before either, because back in the day, it was not uncommon for religious groups, i.e. the Templars, to take bones, teeth, arms, legs of saints as religious artifacts, and those bones certainly could be part of a religious deposit.
Yep. Yeah, I guess that is a possibility, and that's one that you're right. I had never thought of that. So, yeah, Michelle brought that up. I don't know. It's a good point. Yeah. I mean, they did do things like that. I don't know. But it still means that somebody was down there.
Oh, 100%. A human being dug that hole down there. I'm not saying someone died in there either. That's not what I'm inferring. But whether it was a religious artifact that consisted of bones, or if it was, whatever it was, somebody dug a hole that deep in the ground in an island in Nova Scotia hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Yep. Here's a picture of the actual Dunfield dig, and you can see how quickly it narrowed down to a very small shaft size hole that he dug down there. You can see this here, and the sunlight is still hitting it, so that's fairly shallow. And that's where he began the smaller dig all the way down, because he thought he was right on top of it. So, and then it was funny because we keep calling him, or I'm guilty of calling him Dunfield the Destroyer. But like I think somebody had mentioned on the show, if he would have found the treasure, he'd have been a hero. They would have called him a hero. Yeah. So, and he was convinced he was on the right spot, and he may have been, and just ran out of money. He had somebody would have said he had 6 months to find it. He had 6 months, and he had a limited amount of money. So he had to go, do whatever you can to dig down there and find it. So he went the best route he had. And within the time frame that he had, and he ran out of time and money and had to stop. So,
well, you got to remember, he put money into making that causeway too.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. You're right. Using that bulldozer right there. Yeah, because he needed to get that crane over there.
He needed to get the crane over. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. So, and here's this. They were all working on where they were going to go next. And here's of course C1. This is TF1 that they did in the first can, and EC1 in the second can, how close they were. And now they're going to be right here. This is here's F4. And so there is basically where you're going to put the next can right there. I think it's worth a shot. That's where the highest concentrations of gold and silver were in the water samples. And it's the center, what the best knowledge they have of the center of the Dunfield dig. So, put a can in there. You got to.
Yeah. The other thing too we have to consider too, when they're putting X on marks a spot based on the old drill programs, is we don't know how far those other drills walked either.
Exactly.
Right.
Like we don't know how far astray of that thing they would, because some of those drills they put down were only 1.5 inches in diameter.
I know.
But they said this season, I guess last summer, wasn't one of the boys, wasn't Steve Guptill that was on the watch in the background? He made some comments. Didn't they say they put like 400 pilot holes last year alone?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know if it was last year alone, but yes, I think it was. I don't know if that's the total or if it was just. But you might be right. You might be right.
I think he said it was like 400. Now I don't know what that time. I
think that's over the course of the current drill program.
Yeah.
With Sonic or with choice drilling.
That's a lot of holes.
That's a lot of holes. That is a lot.
How much did they walk when they went down?
A lot of them walked 5 feet, 5 feet or more.
Yeah, the choice ones they would know, but not the ones from like was it 1897 when they brought up the parchment paper. Right? They might know where they started the drill. They really don't know where it wound up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, there's a lot of talk on Templars going on in the comments there. I love the Templars.
Oh, I know. Me too. I so want them to be involved in this. I don't know. Some people are adamant, that they were not on Oak Island. They had nothing to do with all this. And then some of us want to believe. But you find things like the lead cross.
I'm telling you, there's
and the fact that they had to flee from Europe.
Right.
Well, and it doesn't mean they were the only ones there either.
Right.
No.
Yes.
But,
very good
but
point.
there was guaranteed. There is proven. There's a lot of Templar activity in the province of Nova Scotia back in the day. Those are facts. It's not.
Yep.
Yeah, we never hear about the Templars, and we never hear about the Portuguese. It's always the English and the British, or the British and the French.
The British and the French.
Yep. Pretty recent. Yeah.
So next morning on the Oak Island,
I love that. I love that.
I know they have some really cool ones, and and he said next morning, on the Oak Island. Harla's here. Hi, Harla. Um, I'm not even going to qualify that question. So
Bones of Jesus, yeah.
they're going to let them fill it up. So, um, yeah, I will. Yeah. Anyway, so I grabbed these pictures simply because I was interested in how they went about. We never saw before that I have noticed anyway, them filling one of these caissons, backfilling it all back with dirt, and here they are doing just that.
Yeah.
Now, I would have to think that they start dumping dirt back in there, and then they pull it up a little bit, right, and take one of the cans off and put more dirt, pull it up because they want those cans back, right? I guess that would be quite the operation, and it would take them. I would think it would take them a couple of days to do this, would it not? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
I mean, they
For
took a
some
lot of stuff
reason, I
out.
remember them saying between the first and the second can was like a week.
Mine was under the understanding it was a week to put a can down. Now, I don't
Right.
know if that's just putting it down or is that taking it down and taking it back out.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least a week. I think it was about a week to put it in, but at some point it depends on the soil that they're going into, because obviously now they're going into the new one, and it's going down much quicker because they're going through the backfill. So they were getting it down in there much quicker. So I guess it really depends on the soil composition.
Yeah.
And then you have to stockpile what came out of the can.
Yeah.
So you can, clean it, sort it, wash it, whatever over the course of the next week.
Right.
And then you've got to disperse all those spoils somewhere around the island.
Mm-hmm.
Because they did go back in the hole.
Yep. Yeah. So there it is. There's a shot looking down in there of all the backfill that they're filling that can up with. So interesting. I just had to show this because I had never seen that before.
And hence, what's the ship anomaly in the swamp? Could that have been part of the dumping ground for the materials that they were taking out of it?
Great point.
Very possible. Yep.
Yeah. Because remember the guys, I think it was last year, Gary, they had found up more on the eye of the swamp, kind of at the peak. They had found a bunch of, I guess, kind of mining equipment or digging equipment that they had found up there. So the guys had activity on that edge of the swamp. So were they taking material out, taking it down the stone road and dumping it down there?
Yeah, it could have been.
Maybe.
Why not?
It could be one of the purposes of the stone road was to haul spoils away from somewhere.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, because they would have been hauling at weight. They would have had to have used heavy animals, hence the oxen, to drag stuff back and forth. Yeah. And two, they said, what we see as the stone pathway isn't what it would have been used as. Like they would have filled it with wood and then stone, and then there would have been other material like dirt over it, so it would hinder weight. Like you're not oxen aren't walking on loose rocks going through there, right?
Exactly. Yeah, very good point.
And if they were tunneling from the swamp area, let's say it's the eye of the swamp or wherever, all of that stuff that they're pulling out of those tunnels has to go somewhere too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly right. Especially if they're tunneling in from the eye of the swamp, hence the tools. If they're over there tunneling from the eye of the swamp, they would dump the spoils. They'd be dumping it right there where the ship-shape anomaly is, right?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know.
and even I think John mentioned about mining blue clay. I mean, those are usable materials of the time.
Again, yeah, and there's John Edwards saying they were mining blue clay, right? And he's laughing because it's possible. It's possible. And we know, I guess it is in the area and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, it's up there. I still think that they were sealing something in the eye of the swamp. I could be all wet with that idea. I want to believe it.
I think they're sealing something. If they're mining blue clay, there wouldn't be any blue clay at the top of the hole, right?
Thank you. Yes, 100%.
Unless they used it for a sealer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I believe they were. And for them to just disregard it so easily and so quickly. It's like, oh yeah, it's just a blue clay mine. That's all they were doing. What? Wait a minute. So, yep. Great point, Tom. Everybody agrees with you. Look at that. See right there. All right. So what they're doing over here, Billy and Gary, they're over here working on the Dunfield spoils again. This pile that you see, this ridge line of dirt over here is the as part of the Dunfield spoils, and they're digging through that in the show. And I think there's a very reasonable reason to do that because it will tell you if they find something in the Dunfield spoils. That means that when Dunfield was pulling up stuff out of there, he might have dropped stuff off. He might have been in the right place after all. So they're over here looking in the spoils. And so there's Gary. And then, of course, Rick comes over. Gary's over there working, and he finds Wonder Woman's armband. That's what he called it, or he said it looked like a piece of pipe or something. Who knows where that came from, but obviously not old. Not that old anyway. And then, of course, Rick comes over and pulls out this piece of leather, which could turn out to be quite significant. When I first saw this, I'm like, oh, that, not to tout myself, but I thought, man, that kind of looks like the sole of a shoe or something because of the shape of it, the way it was rounded right here on the edge. I'm like, man, that kind of looks like a sole of a shoe. But it's thick, really thick leather. So it was pretty cool. And then, here's a close-up of it when they cleaned it up a little bit. And you can almost see the little stitching holes going around the edge right here. And on right here, too. So, yeah, I'm like, definitely looks like a heel. So they went over to see Joe Landry over in Halifax. And it's really cool because Dale Carney, that you guys know, he's been on the show several times. We like Dale a lot. And he was just there. He was just out at Halifax. He was down at the, where he lives up there. But he was just down in that area where this shop is, and he took some pictures and he shared them on our Facebook page. And lo and behold, here's the episode popping up where there they are, going to see Joe Landry because he's a expert with this old leather and stuff. There he is, and so he was examining it, and of course, yep, that's a boot heel or a sole of a shoe or a boot or something. And he talked about it being used to oak bark tanning. Oak bark tanning. Taking the bark of an oak tree and making a emulsion to soak the leather in. Did he say that they would soak it for a year?
For a year. The tanning process took a year, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to tan a lot of shoes to make it worth your while.
I know, huh? It's like Marty and Marty Vineyards, and you get the wine and you barrel it or whatever, and you got to let it sit for a long time. And the older it is, the better it is, right? I don't know. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but I do like the occasional glass of wine. But yeah, so but anyway, that would take an awful long time, a year to get that done. But he said it toughens it up and makes it more durable. And then also gives it that color. And then, of course, being underground for such a long time, he did say the oak tanning was used as early as 1235. Now, immediately everybody jumps on that date. Oh, 1235. Oh, my goodness. But Charles asks him because it started about that time and then goes forward. He's not saying it's that old. So a key point to find out there. But Charles asked him later if the lever, some of the other things that they found between 1488 and 1650 date range. And so he asks Joe, could this fall into that date range? And Joe said, yes, it could very well have been in that date range. And then they kind of compared this to the piece of leather boot heel that the guys found in the spoils. It was one of the other caissons that they had from last season. And it was one of the, I don't remember which caisson it was, but it was the spoils from that they found that heel, and they took it to Joe, and he looked at it and said it was a boot heel. Could it have been from this one? I don't know. Possible, I suppose, but we don't know on that. But Joe tells them that the sole, that sole could be from an officer's boot because of the tapered shape indicates it was nicely cut. It was a nicely cut boot, such as an officer's boot would be. So it was better workmanship.
Yeah, and didn't they say that the heel that they found was in sort of an upper end item as well?
Yeah. Yeah, and he gathered that from not only the material, the type of leather it was, but also by the stitching of being very closely stitched, which would indicate more stitches, more durable, hold up better, higher quality. He said that there's something lower quality, the stitching would be further apart. because, they're making it quicker for, average worker versus somebody with higher end quality shoes or something. So yeah, so pretty interesting, that piece of leather. So then after they get done with that, so that was about, remember that heel that they found, they were dating that about 1492 from the last year's finding from the other case.
In a strange sense, this brings us back to Samuel Ball.
What does?
This boot heel.
Oh.
Because they kind of connected Samuel Ball to that one there that they found earlier also.
Well, Samuel would have, yeah. I know Samuel would have been there. I mean, he had higher end stuff later on because he was making pretty good money.
Pretty good money.
Yeah, selling all those golden cabbages. And that's a whole nother story in itself. Samuel Ball. I mean, that gets pretty. That man is an enigma, is he not?
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I would sure, and knowing that he owned the property when Vaughn, Smith, and McGinnis found the money pit, and his name initially was on one of the first reports of finding the money pit, and then the next report came off and his was removed and Smith's was added, or was it Smith's added, or was it Vaughn's added? One of the two. I think it was Smith's added, and Smith owned that property. That's why they call it Smith's Cove, because he owned the property where the money pit was. But just interesting that his name was on the first record of finding the money pit, and then the next record that came out, it was not on there. But he owned that property when the money pit was found. So, that's, and again, we go back to the whole thing about them talking, the producers of the show talking about the fact that, three boys found it, deserted island. It wasn't, there was people that owned property on it well before the money pit was ever found. So
the one thing they didn't say last time is when if they ever stopped using that oak bark tanning process, to kind of give you an upper end of the dates. I mean, I know they went to the 1650 date, which would be 100 years before Samuel Ball even showed up on the scene, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, some people are talking about the leather could have been used for like in gloves and things of that nature too. So yeah, certainly. And then of course they found 1909 boot down there, rubber boot. That was pretty cool, I thought. So then we get back out to the money pit, and there's Terry back at the table. There he is, back in the money pit. So we're happy to see him back in the money pit. Like I said, everybody was kind of wondering where he disappeared to. And so I grabbed this picture here because this shows the new Caisson going in, and this is the new DH82, Dan Henskee 82, and it's over F4. So they're encompassing F4 in this particular dig, this particular can. And right here you can see 35 feet to the top of this can, and it was still sticking up quite a ways out of the oscillator at this point. So they were just getting started there, and they knew that they had what I think they said something about 50, 60 feet of spoils to get out of there first. Was it something like that? That would have been Dunfield's spoils. Yeah. Gail sent, this is one of the pictures that Gail was sharing with me from our group. And again, thank you for that, Gail. Pointed out that, when they dumped some of this, they never said anything. They were dumping these hammer grabs out pretty quickly, and they weren't spending much time talking about it. And this picture, as you can see, this thing right here, and Colin said, looks like a crushed can, oil, or a can or a bucket or something. And it does. It kind of looks like that. Now, knowing that they're in Dunfield spoils, this could have been a grease can that they were using to, grease his dump, the crane or something with. We don't know. We don't know for sure.
It could be something they picked up, looked at, discarded, and it didn't make the show.
Right.
Right.
It just seemed interesting that pieces, and there was another piece of, I think it might be this blur right here. There was pieces rolling down this pile as it was dumping out of the hammer grab. And I grabbed this. I was trying to grab these shots real quick, and it was hard to do because it went by in a matter of seconds, 1 or 2 seconds. But there's this one shot right there, which was kind of neat. And then there was another one, and that's this one here. And I'll zoom in on this a little bit. You can see 2 anomalies in here. This one here, and then that one back there.
Almost looks like a pipe.
Yeah,
It does, doesn't it?
it almost does. It looks like it might go back in this way a little bit or something. And again, it could be absolutely nothing. It could be parts of things that Dunfield was using, broken pieces of pipe or whatever it may be, and he just pushed all that stuff back into the hole because he was leaving. He didn't care. He had to fill it back in, and he just dumped everything. It could be anything. A bucket. It could be a can. Who knows? A piece of pipe. But I just thought it was interesting that they were definitely finding some, or there was some pieces coming out of there that were not dirt and rock. So interesting. We'll see. We'll find out. Hopefully, they may never talk about it ever again. But then there was another shot of it right there. You could just see those 2 pieces of something. It's definitely not a rock. And then Gary finds that pin, that wooden pin that he pulls out. Let's see. What did they call this thing? Is it just
Trunnel? Trunnel?
a trunnel? Thank you. Yes. And a trunnel would be something to nail, basically pin 2 pieces of wood together. What's that? Oh, I thought somebody was saying something. And you can see it's obviously been shaped. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Tapered and shaped.
It's a wooden pin made. It's a wooden pin made for some purpose. Could be a handle, but I think it's more of a wooden pin.
Yeah, I think you're right. And they didn't show the one end. It's obviously tapered like that and cut that way. And I was wondering about this end and if it looked like it had been hammered, i.e. driven into something. And they were showing this one on the show. Well, very reminiscent of what's now. You see here, and I was trying to zoom in on some of these. This one here is the best one to see. If you can see this, it's square on the end where he's going to hit it with his, and you're generally going to use like a wood mallet. You're not going to use a steel. I don't know if they had it, but it's going to be like a wood mallet. So you're doing wood against wood.
What's that picture of? Is that a boat?
This is a ship. This was a boat they were making. Yeah. They drive these in and then they cut them off. So they're not poking out, but you can see that one there square on the end where he's hitting it. And then tapered and more rounded on this end where he drives it into the hole to pin 2 pieces of wood together like this here. Now this one's square all the way through, but you can see a shim. It looks like there's a shim on it right here. So you tighten it up in the hole. But again, like I said, it's to put 2 pieces of hold 2 pieces of wood together. So that's what, pretty certain that's what this was. But again, not positive, but it probably was. And where would it be used? It'd be used to put pieces of, it does look hammered. That's what Paula Mason said. It looks like it's been hammered. It does. It looks like it was flattened, maybe a little bit on the end there. But if you're putting pieces of a shaft wall or tunnel wall together, you'd be using, especially back in the day, before you had iron spikes, and they found a ton of those iron spikes that they pulled out of the ground. Out of the spoils and whatnot, but this would be what would be used at that back in the day to put stuff like that together.
But there were also lots of ship repairing and stuff going on. They know that, so it could be just part of the boat stuff.
Yep, absolutely. There was also a couple of, and I don't know if I have pictures of them. Oh yeah, I do right here. There was a couple of pieces of beam that were brought up. That looked like they had been shaped with an adze. And we know that Gary and Rick found an adze later on. So we know that was definitely found.
Lot 4, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think it was. I think you're right. It was over on the other side of Young's lot. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. Who's sending me pictures here? Somebody. Oh, it's hang on a second there, Dale. Let me see what I can pull up here. Dale's sending me a couple pictures. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll talk about that in just a minute before we wrap up. That's pretty cool. So anyway, so there's a piece of wood there, and I think there's one more. Yeah, this one was more clean looking, but again, very quickly. Go ahead.
You can definitely see the adze marks on it.
Yeah,
it's been gouged. Yeah,
very clearly. So I think this would indicate it being older. I was going to say original depositors, and that's assuming there was depositors. But I think it dates it back much older than the searchers would have come across. Don't you think?
I
What's
agree.
your thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Yep. The year of the ads. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is. I was just trying to read this name. I was like, let me see what they say. Look at this. Get you out of the way there. Drifting away slumber. I'm so curious, when you have a big drill bit, you cut slots in the side of the drill bit, approximately 8 inches wide or 5 feet long. Put cameras inside the drill bit. Is it where you can suppose caves? I'm not sure where you're going with that.
Well, I think she's trying to look to the exterior of the caisson, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So if the caisson hits a void, you could look out from the caisson into the void.
Oh, see, now that would be really interesting. Yes. Oh, okay. All right. I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. That's the one thing they're going to miss when they put the caisson down there. If there's any offshoots, off tunnels, you're never going to know. You might have an area where the caisson drops easily for, a few feet, indicating that there was some sort of a void, but you're never going to know if there was any kind of another tunnel heading off that you just went right through. That's what I was talking about when they put those, when they were putting the regular well pipes down, when they were drilling that I would put a camera down every single one of those things, especially the ones that were drilling through if we assume that they were drilling through the bedrock, and there was times where they, like that one where they had all that air coming up. Why did they? Well, and maybe they didn't show us, but why would they not put a camera down that?
Yeah. But you remember when they showed the camera, the guys were using the scopes. It really was very difficult to see anything.
Yeah, that's true. It is true. But yeah, I did. That just bothers me that they don't at least don't show us that they're putting a camera down. I'd put a camera down any one of those holes, especially ones where you hit a void. Get a camera down there and get a look at what the void is.
Well, you got to think, you got 20, let's say there's 25 episodes. There's 40, 45 minutes of show.
Yep.
So you've got, say, 20 hours of stuff. Those guys are out there working for months and months and months and months, from sun up to sundown, at least 5 days a week. They got a lot of hours. They got hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of labor hours in, and we only see a very, very finite, very small piece of it, right?
Yep. Yeah. That's very, very true. How much of that stuff, and we assume that they skipped over a lot of the non-essential stuff. When they find, because Gary has, you've seen when he goes out to do metal detecting, he's been out in these areas before, and he put the little flags out.
Yep.
So when he goes back, he's simply just looking for going to those flags and finding stuff, and we only see a couple. So the other ones were definitely not something to.
Well, I hope next week's episode they show something cool. No Debbie Downer, but the last couple of weeks have getting a little.
I know. I'm with you. I agree. I agree with you wholeheartely.
We need some magic to come out here.
Yes, we do. We definitely do.
Well, you can see it on their faces when the second borehole didn't work out. You could see it on their faces.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure they would. I mean, that's a big commitment. They got a lot of time and energy and decision making to put that in there, and then go, oh, we found
nothing.
Another little piece of wood.
Yeah. And so many people thought in or around C1 would be the answer.
Yeah, I did. I was one of them. Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
When he said we had to go back to the war room, his face was very distraught, shall we say?
Yeah, they were all dejected, very much down, because they really weren't finding what they thought. They thought really had high hopes for both of them, and I did too. I was thinking too was going to be the one where they found something significant, But again, not so much. But I think 3, again, now I'm going, okay, 3 is going to be the one. But it's on the Dunfield, and I have a feeling Dunfield might have been in the right spot. He just didn't get to go deep enough, so we'll see. But yeah, so Drifting Away Slumbered said, to expose any caves that would be along the side as you're drilling down. Thank you. That was my theory. And he said down here, he said, that was what my theory is. You guys drove past the caves and you had no clue if there had been because you're tooling right past them, and not being able to see them. I don't know that the holes in those cans. There's one like slot, and I thought that had that was a place where the other can that goes in. It was like a little rounded, like a slot in it, base right on the edge. That the other can had something that fit into that slot, and they go around and they put those. I don't know. It's like a round.
Put the round bolts in, to
hold
cans together. Yeah.
To hold them together. So that was a lining up. That pin or that little slot was to line them up, and then you go around and put the things here. There are, as far as I know, no holes in the side of these things to look through to see if you did pass through. So you're right. They could go right past a tunnel and not even know that they went by one. That's a very good point. We know that there, and that's what Eric is saying here. We know that there are voids underground. They need to map underground with current water currents because they detect gold and silver. But one hole, but it could have come from upstream. I don't, the whole water. Obviously, the water's getting in through, and they're talking about the water coming in through the flood tunnels. What's your guys' thoughts on that whole flood tunnel thing? I mean, is it possible that oh my gosh, we got a bunch of stuff in here I got to delete. What's your thoughts on the flood tunnels and all of that?
Somebody went to a lot of work to put those drains in Smith's Cove.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to do all that work if they're not going to go someplace.
Yeah.
Did the work ever get finished? Did the work ever get done? I mean, who knows? But those are drains. Those were made to move water, without a doubt.
Yep.
And there were materials. I mean, that's the cool stuff. Like the nice thing with the box drains is they're not subjective. It's fact. There were foreign materials from another part of the world, like all the coconut fiber that was found in the ground and put in there to filter and do stuff. So again, just the level of technology and people power to do that would have been just incredible.
And that type of work would not be related to any sort of indigenous activity. Like it's not nothing related to fishing. It's nothing related to building smokehouses or putting up a village or anything like that. Like it's there for a totally industrial purpose.
To make water Amy was saying about salt water getting in, and I mean, you're really on, you're on the ocean. You're going to get a lot of salt water saturation just in the soil anyway.
Yep.
That's just normal. You can't avoid it. And you get that really dark black. I was doing some additions on our property on the water, and we get about 6-7 feet down, and it turns this really dark black clay color, and that's from the salt water intrusion that you get in.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing how far inland it goes.
There's absolutely no doubt that something significant went on down there.
Yep. I was just reading some of the stuff to hear that Linda.
I noticed that Barbara asked a question earlier if there was going to be a Beyond recap tomorrow night, and the answer is no. It's going to be a week from Thursday.
Right. Yep.
The Newfoundland special. You mean you guys haven't kissed the cod before?
No, I never have. Is that something I'm going to have to do when I come up?
Unless you go to Newfoundland, that's a Newfoundland special.
That's a Newfoundland tradition.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, that's that was pretty cool. They had the one last night now, and Tom and I will be talking about that one next Thursday. We don't have anything going on this Thursday, but next Thursday we are going to be talking about that. We've got. Sorry, folks. Those of you that are on the YouTube side, we've got a jerk out here that is posting stuff. Please do not click on those. We're trying to get rid of them as quickly as we can. Linda's working on it, and so am I. But yeah, please do not click on those. Somebody's being a real jerk. That's the one bad part about having this being open to the public. But yeah, so they have the Beyond Oak Island that was on last night. Tom Burns and I will be talking about that next Thursday at 7:30. We might have some special guests too for that one, just like we have been on the Beyond Oak Island shows. We've been having some really cool special guests, so stay tuned for that one. So we'll talk about that later.
Thanks to Jan and Linda.
Yes, I'm telling you, Jan's really been going doing a very good job of reaching out to these people and having them come on. And look what we've had: Donna McCauley, and we've had Gypsy Jules, and we've had Matt from the Rob Westrick, and Matt from the Steam the museum out in Kansas City. I mean, just wonderful folks. It's been great, really has. Cindy Medina from out in Yep, really good show out in Texas. Yeah, really good shows.
And all the guys from CSTI that were there with her. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, really cool. And that's their hard work doing all that. I'm telling you, it's really, really cool. Really helping the show out a lot, bringing in interesting people to talk with. So, and we'll be having Rob Westrick is going to be coming back because you'll be seeing him again for sure. So at the end of all of this, I had to show this because I tell you, this is one of the things that just makes somebody's head explode. I'm going to show this picture here. Boom. Here, Jack. I mean, we love Jack, right? Everybody does. Couldn't you use a regular garden hose? I mean, something with a little less pressure.
He's going for effect.
Come on, Jack. I mean, you said, "Oh, I got this little plastic. I put extra plastic mesh on here." So and he said, so we don't, be blowing, parchment and whatnot through. It's like, yeah, but you're hitting it with the fire hose. Oh, come on. But he did state initially he was looking for coins and stuff, But now there's a lot more to be found. But anyway, so there was Eric. I didn't get his name on the show last time, but there's Eric, surveyor, that's helping him go through the spoils and stuff, which is really cool. And then he did find this one piece of whatever it is. We don't know. They didn't really talk about it much past this little shot that they had here showing this piece of something that had all these little pieces of rock and everything in it. I don't know. Is that something that you would find up there as a rock? What do you guys think?
They thought it had some sort of aggregate in it. It might be potentially concrete, but
that's what I thought I heard say concrete. Yeah,
I thought it might be concrete, but again, the only verifiable proven concrete, with the exception maybe of what they pulled up in 1897, was deeper than that.
Yep. So So anyway, we don't know exactly what this is. This was a thing. This was a shot from next week. If you guys watch the preview for next week's show, as they go deeper past 36 feet with the DH82 can over F4. So this, I'm sorry. So this is what they brought up out of there, and you heard them say, I heard, ooh, that was Gary going off on this thing. We think it was this. And then you heard the word gold mentioned, of course, and that could be just editing.
Pyrite alert.
Could very well be. You could very well be right.
I think I'd be rushing that right up to the 3D scanner.
Yes, right. Yes, I think I would be too. But it was interesting nonetheless to see what this thing is. I'm curious to see what it is. We know that gold does not get encrusted like this seems to be. You got these protrusions on it or whatever it is. So, and it's definitely not a gold bar because he's holding it with his fingertips, and he would not be if it were a gold bar. It'd be much heavier than that.
Be much heavier.
So, and it wouldn't be encrusted if it was a gold bar, but it is interesting. We'll see. We'll see what this turns out to be. But next week for sure, we're going to see down below the Dunfield area, or at least we hope so, that we'll be seeing what's going on down below the Dunfield dig area for next week's show. So I'm really excited to see what's happening next week. So, but like Colin mentioned, the last couple of shows have been kind of ho hum. I have to admit, they really have. We haven't found. I mean, so TF1 was a bust. Now EC1 was a bust. So now they're on DH82. And like Dan Henskee said, oh, so if you don't find anything, it's all my fault. I thought that was kind of a funny statement that he made there. But
blame the old guy.
Blame the old guy.
I can relate to that. I think we might find something more next week, because if they hit the 100-foot mark before the end of their show, they didn't really say if they have or not.
Right. Yep.
They would be starting to get into that area where things get interesting, I would think.
Well, I think the next 3 episodes are going to be the big ones, because the last couple are going to be what's going to happen next year. They'll be recapping. It'll be going on. I think the next couple of weeks are going to be the ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's what, Barbara, that's what this is all about right here, is because the show goes by so quickly. And that's why we like to do a recap of it. And we can kind of dig into all of this a little bit deeper. We can speculate more like we do. Yes, I know I do speculate a lot about what they're seeing and what they're not telling us and all that kind of stuff. But it gives us an opportunity. Plus the fact that we get to interact with you all. And there's been 175 comments just on Facebook tonight. And I know I missed probably 170 of them. I do my best with that, but and then on the YouTube side, there's been over 200 on the YouTube side. So, but that's why we'd like to do this, because we get to interact with you guys during the show and get your point, get your ideas. What do you think? What do you think that piece? I took it down already, but what do you guys think that is? Is it pyrite? I don't know.
Could be pyrite. It might be encrusted something made of brass, maybe. I don't know.
Yep. So, but yeah, said that she joined in December and really likes the show. Well, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it very, very much. But what do you guys think? So next week is going to be a good one. Colin, you were saying that it looks like it's probably going to. Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're going to give us more in the next few episodes.
I take a vote on what they were showing there. Is it pyrite? Is it brass? Is it something? But I clearly know whatever I'm voting on, I'm going to be wrong anyway. So 1 can, 4 cans, I don't know.
Well, like we said, I was wrong too, because I said 2, and now they're working on 3. We know
they're going to do 4. They've got to finish this one real quick.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. This can is going down really quick. Yeah, because they're going through Dunfield's backfill.
I mean, you're going to run out of time here before. And Colin, when did they leave? Do you remember?
I don't know when they would have left. I mean, I was wrapping up myself. I was pulling boats in the end of October, November. And I know on the October 23rd, they still had the big crane. It looks like they were just kind of disassembling things, but
yeah.
But we also, I think we were watching, the guys were sending pictures. They were out there even in November and December on the island doing stuff. So maybe they were out shining up all the treasure and stuff that they pulled out. Who knows?
I'm waiting to find out where they put these muon detectors. If they ever actually use them.
Yeah. Now, see, that's something that really hasn't been talked about.
We haven't heard about it since the first of the year.
I tell you, the muon detectors. They talked about the muon technology, which is the muons that are traveling through space, right?
Cosmic rays, basically.
Cosmic rays, yeah. Thank you. And they travel through things. They're traveling through your body. They're traveling through the earth. They're traveling through everything. And they can put sensors in the ground and actually read those muons as they're coming through the ground, and thereby find open cavities and things of that nature. Now, they talked about that. And we know that they were setting that up, because remember when they had the one drilling down episode with Matty Blake, when they had Joe Lessard on the island, and he said he pointed over his shoulder in that one shot and said they were over there setting something up. Now,
what do you call them? A game changer or something like that?
yes. Now, Colin, if you remember, you and I, when you were sharing your pictures and you came on that one show and we were sharing your pictures, and you said down there by that little pit that's down in the,
They did one on the, I'll say, the Smith's Cove side,
Yes.
and they also did another one on the, I'll call it the swamp / money pit side.
Right.
Very, very close to the water level.
Yes.
As they dug out, they had some pumps, and they were putting equipment in. So that's which at the time we were trying to figure out what in God's name are they doing down there. But that, I think that's what that was. They had some type of scanning equipment that they were doing deep, almost like a side scan sonar type of thing, or this Muon or Muon.
They have to put multiple sensors down to take a reading, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they had these kind of at the right level, at water level, to get depth on the. They get a whole picture of the structure underneath the ground.
Right.
And they never really
maybe that's what they're saving. Maybe that's what they're saving for us for the end of the year.
I think they might be. And I think that I'm going to say this, put money on the fact that drilling that they were doing down there that you saw, because you pointed it out over Maddie's shoulder. You could see it in that one photograph that I had of Maddie's shoulder down there, that they were drilling down there. Choice drilling was popping a couple holes in the ground. I would put money on the fact that that's where they're putting the Muon technology, is down there, and then maybe over in Smith's Cove side as well. Now that is, and I've done some reading up on the Muon technology, and it's something that they let go for a long period of time. Is it possible that the Muon sensors are going on all throughout the entire winter? Is that, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Because wasn't they use the similar setup for mapping out some of the internal structures, like the pyramids and stuff? Like,
yes. That's how they found some of the voids, the undiscovered voids in the pyramids.
Yep.
Exactly. It's really super cool stuff.
And
the other thing was, you're waiting for results. Remember when they did the swab, they did all those charges and everything else.
Seismic,
It was quite a while before we got any really results. They were in Traverse City when they had that show to get the results from that.
Yeah. Yep. This is some pictures that I grabbed when they were talking about the Muon technology. And this is where the Muons are traveling, through the earth. And there's a sensor down here. You're picking up the Muon muons, or it's reading the muons or whatever. It's picking them up as it down there in that shaft, and it's showing these voids. And there's another shot. And these are the muons, or the cosmic rays that are constantly traveling through space and through the earth, through us, through everything. They're just able to read them, and that by using that technology, they should be able to find voids in the ground. And here's another shot of it here. So the sensor is down here, and it's reading the muons and finding these voids in the ground. So
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, here's where you're talking about the pyramids of Giza. Muon scanning finds hidden chamber in the Great Pyramid of Giza.
Yeah.
First chamber discovered since the 19th century, but not everyone is convinced. So is this technology really true or not? I don't know. So interesting. So could it be that they're going to use this? And from I did have one more picture here. So they're thinking that there is a in the Great Pyramid, that there's another chamber right up in here by the scans that were detected. So, and from what I read on this, and it's Muon, if anybody wants to look it up, Muon technology. You can go check it out yourself. But from what I've understood, it needs to be, you need to take a lot of data over a long period of time. So that's why I throw out that question. Is it possible that they could have been doing this all winter?
Or at least all summer. Right.
But again, it was a really short year this year for them doing stuff. Like, it wasn't until really August, September, October was the main operation. the spring was late, which I'm excited about for this season because I think this season's going to start early. They're going to be able to do a lot bigger things, and a lot more stuff can happen this year for 2022.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this season. I really am because, like you said, like I said at the beginning of the show, we know Rick is already in the area, and if he's in the area, he's been on the island. He's already getting things started on the island. We don't know if he's still there. He may have gone home or whatever, but and come back when they got things ready to rock and roll. But and the guys that are up there, Steve Guptill and Scott Barlow and all them. Again, I'm making assumptions here. We assume that they're on the island because we know Billy's out there a lot of the winter, preparing and fixing things and putting rocks around the beaches and stuff to help the erosion and whatnot. So we know stuff goes on the island all winter long. So
we can't forget Laird because he's got a liaison to try to get the permits.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And we had a light winter. And everything's pointing that we're going to have a really good spring this year. So anyway.
Yeah. Keep our fingers crossed that we'll find out. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next couple shows because
they say it can only get better. Is that a nice way to say it?
Yes. Yes. That's a very nice way to say it.
Or we could say things are picking up.
Yeah.
The calm before the storm.
Are we allowed to say that, Linda? Linda's sending me yeah, I know. Yeah, Rick is there. We know that Rick was in the area, so let's see.
Rick has been spotted, yes.
That's true. Rick was spotted. He is on the island just like he was all those years pre-COVID. He is not so we know that before COVID started, Rick would get there pretty early. He would get there in March. Guy was antsy to get out on the island and get going. So so we know he was there, and he's already getting things rocking and rolling for the season. We know, I think the filming actually starts in April, I think. Probably April 1st or somewhere around. So they're going to start filming here in, less than half a month. So excited to see what they're going to come up with this year. But I'm really looking forward to the next couple episodes. I really think we're going to see something. I think they've kept the best for the end to keep us, cliffhanger for next season, season 10. But I really
has been their history.
Yeah. They really need to. They really need to come up with something. A season 10 is great. I think if what do you guys? I'm going to throw something out there, and I kind of said this earlier in the pre-show. But if they put down 4 cans this year, and they got these areas where that they've put these cans down all around the Money Pit area so far, around C1 now F4. They put one more down someplace else. If they find absolutely nothing, what is that talked about for a big dig?
I don't think the big dig's in the cards right now, personally.
I don't either.
But
I really don't.
The big but is if they're already back on the island, it means they found something that makes it worthwhile for them to come back and spend that kind of money this year.
Only takes one thing, one little tiny thing to come out of there.
Yep.
A little artifact, a little gold, a little diamond, little something, and then boom.
The producers aren't going to put all that money into a television show that's not going to yield them results,
right?
And have ratings drop off,
right?
And not find anything,
right? And that's been happening. They have been losing some ratings. The number of people watching the show has dropped a little bit, but you look at that, it's because of the fact that they've had quite a few episodes here where they really haven't found a whole lot. Last year, they had the whole thing going on with the swamp, the road in the swamp. They were over at Ball's property. They had a lot of different things happening on the island to keep everybody's interest.
Yeah. I think that was the biggest problem this year, is that when they were really with the Money Pit, before we always kind of had interesting things going here, going there.
Right.
Smith Cove, we had the Money Pit, we had the swamp. We had a lot of things going on at one time that we got information on. It kind of held your interest. If you didn't care for one, the other one got your interest
Yep.
It's coming. I have faith that it's coming.
Oh, me too.
Oh, I
And
do.
I do
I do
too.
too.
that's what Mary said right here. She goes, I'm in till the end. So am I.
Me too.
I
Yeah.
think
I'll be
we're
right
all
here
in
doing
till
the
the
show
end.
right to the end. I don't care if there's only 3 people watching and it's Jan and Linda and John or Tom. I'm still going to be out here talking about it.
Yeah, until Rick and Marty say that's it,
That's it.
Right.
We're there.
we're
Thank
in.
you. That's
And
it.
even then, I might say, "Oh, guys, you got to rethink this."
But and so now, and we know in next week's show they're going to be out in the water too. We're going to see
Right.
Tony Sampson, I think, is going to be back. They're going to be out off the shore. They're talking about a shipwreck. And you guys, Colin, you've talked about this quite a bit about how many ships have sunk a hole around this whole area.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And
So
they're just getting to this. They advertise this at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they certainly. I know last year, the last 2 summers, there were barges and they were doing dive operations out there. So we'll see what the show's going to show us anyway.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm curious to see. I like when they have other little segments to show us of interest besides what's going on in the money pit. Like next week, they're going to be doing a little bit of diving, or at least scanning anyway, and maybe diving the following week. But it's called Show Me the Money is next week. And then, of course, the Peter Easton. So we're going to be talking about Show Me the Money. We're going to be talking about that on Wednesday next week. And then on the 24th, Tom Burns and I, we're going to be talking with a special guest. We're going to be talking about the Peter Easton Plunder show that was on last night. We're going to be talking about that on Thursday, the 24th, that evening at 7:30. So we'll be covering that one. They're going to have a show at the end of the Oak Island's Show Me the Money next week, something about the Shackleton ship. I got that written in my notes. So that doesn't have anything to do with Oak Island. Just another show. Before we go, I wanted to show you this too. Colin, I was a couple pictures that was on, as you know, Dale Kearney and their company, him and Cherry and him, their company that they have, Maritime Tartan, did a great, fantastic fundraiser for Christmas Daddies that takes place in Nova Scotia every year. And they will I be kissing the cod? Yeah, I mean, sure. Yeah.
If you get caught kissing the cod in Nova Scotia, you're in trouble.
We might catch a couple of cod, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm up for that too. So, anyway, so last year they did that great fundraiser. They gave away the 2 hat. One was a hat that we gave away on the show, and another one was a hat that was auctioned off at the telethon that they did on December 4th. I think it was last year. But this year, he reached out to our great friend Vanessa. Vanessa, who owns Rock Equipment Company, and Vanessa Lucido. He reached out to Vanessa, and she has sent him some items that I'm going to bring these up here real quick. Let me just download the pictures real quick, and I'll show you. This is cool stuff, folks, and this is going to be in next year's auction for Christmas Daddies. Bear with me just a moment here, and I will bring these up and display them for you. And here is one. This is a picture, of course, signed back here. And there's Dave Blankenship and the crew. And this hat, or hard hat, that's signed by everyone. There's Vanessa and all the guys. Danny, I'm sure, is on there somewhere too. And then he's got some different stickers and whatnot. And then also this shirt. Yeah. So he's got those items. And then here's a picture of one of the guys, one of the crew member, holding the hard hat. So he's going to be giving those away next year, or I should say later this year for Christmas Daddies.
Yeah, this year.
Yeah. Amy says, I want that hard hat. So be looking for it. I mean, obviously we won't really get this going until, I don't know, when, Dale, when do you, it will start as soon as I get them. Okay. So he's going to get the whole thing rolling for Christmas Daddies for next year. I don't know if Rick and Marty have signed that or not. I see what's this one Gary has. There's Gary. That's Gary Drayton right there.
Yeah.
Jack Bagley. So yeah, I would say Dave Blankenship signed it. So yeah, it's got some signatures on it already. So that's going to be cool.
We'll get Dale to model it for us when he gets it.
Yeah, Dale's going to have to put that on. And so, Yeah. So he said, oh, Dale said, here, let me put this up here. He said, that we use it as a fundraiser, same as last year, $5 per chance. We want to raise a ton. Rick signed it. Yes, Rick signed it. So
Great cause, super cause.
Yep. So that was, let's say I got those. Let me go back to the other one. Let's see. Yeah, right there, Rick Lagina. Yeah, you can see a signature right there. Rick Lagina. And Charles Barkhouse. Yeah. So anyway, very cool. So that'll be for next year's auction. So we'll be so watch out for that. And we're happy, very happy to help out the Maritime Tartman Dale and Maritime Tartan Dale and Sherry and their fundraiser for Christmas Daddies again this year. And as you know, Linda ended up with the hat. That was a really cool story. We'll tell it another time, but she ended up with one of the signed hats, and she proudly displays it from time to time. It should be under glass, in my opinion, and in a hermetically sealed
jar. Mayonnaise jar?
Yeah, mayonnaise jars. Yeah, kept it.
It's probably under armed guard right now.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, she wears it. I would. I mean, why not? I would show it off. Yeah. So very cool. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up again. Jack Campbell, thanks for coming on tonight.
Oh, thank you,
Jamieson. We love you having you on the show. All you guys are just fantastic. And we'll likely have a whole different crew. We got another special guest coming on next week on the show that you have not seen on before. So he'll be joining us. We won't talk. Well, you'll see it pop up in announcements as who's coming on. So next week we're going to be here talking about Show Me the Money on Wednesday night, 7:30. And then on the 24th, we'll be doing the show Peter Easton. So you guys have a great rest of your week. There is no show this Saturday. So unfortunately, fortunately for me, I get the day off. So thanks for being here, folks. We'll see you next week right here on the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. Bye-bye now.